Okay guys, welcome back. So here's the thing. In my last video, I said it was going to be a short one and it ended up being over 20 minutes again. So I think this time it's going to be very short. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll try put out a series of extremely short videos, which are then hopefully more easy to follow. That probably makes more sense. So we are now at the point where we want to, well, I said add navigation, but I think I'm going to leave that for later because it should be something that we can just easily fit into any page and it shouldn't take long. I did want to do this. I wanted to set up a page to filter the top 50 films, etc. So these are just queries. So we'll get to queries as well. Um, but I think today I'm going to add something different. So I have been thinking about how I would add, you know, hundreds and hundreds of reviews so that we can update on the homepage the actual reviews for each film. Because at the moment, you can see that it's just a generic number that I put down and every film is the same. So I want to update every single film's actual review based on what people have been voting. Now I've got 4 users in my database, and I want to replace that with sort of random users. So I was taking a look at this website Mockaroo, and this is very useful for just creating random users. So I actually I ran this and I created 100 users, and I'm now thinking, should I bother with that? I mean, so in the folder on my GitHub, you're going to find, if you download or if you look at my GitHub repository, which is linked to the video, every video anyway, you'll see that what I've got is I've generally, I've created 100 just random users. And then what I was thinking of doing was just running a script to, like putting 10,000 random reviews for random films based by random users. And I think that's fine. But I mean, I'm also thinking that maybe I shouldn't bother with the random users. I should just leave it there with the users that I've got, with the 4 users that I've got, because it doesn't matter whether I've got 10,000 other users or 100,000 other users or whatever. What matters is that for every film, the value that we show here is the average of all the reviews that have been given in the database. And instead, what I want to do is just create a script that will just iterate over the users that we do have and maybe just create 10,000 reviews. And then whatever the reviews are, they are. I mean, so unfortunately, what it will do is it will skew the reviews. It will skew the films that we have here. So, for example, the top film might randomly be the film that's rated lowest on the actual IMDb website, but this is just random. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I've opened up my views file, and I want to do a couple of things. To begin with, in fact, what I've got here, if I just minimize that again, what I've got here is I just have to remember how to do it. I always forget. I'm going to pull in this. So this line here in my views file will enable me to pull up the table of users. So if you remember, when we import the models, for example, we've imported film and rating, okay? But this here will from the Django models, the Django built-in models, it will import the user. So I'm going to create another function here. I'm just going to call it random. Let's call this one add rev, so add review. And this one isn't going to take in a request. Okay, this one instead is just going to take in the film. So let's say given film. I'm just going to say g_film. So the given film is going to take in the given. I don't want to spell given. It'll make it too long. Given user, and then given_rating. Okay, and then what we want is we want to create an object with these three bits of data. So let's say object or obj equals, from the rating table, we want to load objects, and we want to do what we did before. We want to say update or create. And inside that, we want to add film. We want to add user, and then we want to add rating. Oh, and let me just double check. So just need to make sure that it is film, user, rating, and it's not spelled in that way. So if we look at the models, it is film, user, and rating, spelled in exactly the same way. So if I go back to views here, I'm going to say film equals, and what we want to do is we want to say get object of 404. We did this before. So we want to look up the film table, and whatever value that we give it, it wants to pick up the value of the film. So that is going to be film, and then it needs the primary key and ID, and that is going to be given film. So we're just going to give it a film ID. Next, let's copy and paste this actually. Let's copy and paste the whole thing, and let's stick that there. So now we're going to say get object film. This now is going to be user, and we now have the user because we've imported user here. So from Django's built-in user table, we're importing the user, and we want to give the rating, sorry, the user ID. And then lastly, what we want is, we want to add in giving rating. So I'm just going to say given rating. Now, this is going to be just an integer. These are just integers as well. So the film ID and the film and the user ID, they're just numbers. But when we add new objects for the rating table, because in our models these are foreign keys, I can't just give a number. I've actually got to look up the user and look up the film and do it in that way. So here we're finding the object with the number for the film and the ID for the user. So the ID for the film, the ID for the user. So that's how that one works. And then lastly, I don't want this function to return anything. Okay, this is just going to be a generic function that I'm going to run. And then at the bottom here, we're going to come back to that. So now I'm actually going to write a function that is a request. Okay, so I'm going to say define add reviews. So I mean, almost the same name. This one does take a request. Okay. In fact, that's all it takes. It just takes a request, and then what it does is we're going to run a for loop. So we're going to say for I in range, and now what I want here is I want to run this for the users that I have in my table. So is this running? So if I go to, let's minimize that for a second. We go to here, yeah, here, and let's just go to, I think I added another user, by the way. We just go to users. Now I've got 4 users. So, and by the way, look, if I put my mouse over the admin, you can see at the bottom, on the bottom left, it says user 1. So that's the ID. So if I click on any one of these users, you can see here the ID for the user exists here, and they start from 1. So users don't start from 0. That will make more sense in just a moment. Let's go back to the home page and let's open up that again. So what I want is for my users, I want to start from 1 to 5. So user number 1 up to number 4. You know the way it works in Python as well. So we count up to a number, not including. So I want users 1 to 4. So I'm going to have to include 5. And then what I want is I want to create a random film. Okay, so let's say film ID is going to be equal to randint. So a random integer between 1. Oh, okay, I haven't imported random. So let's import random here from random, import randint. Okay, cool. How many films do we have exactly? Altogether, we have 692 films. So we're going to use them. Okay, so we're going to say, let's open that up again. So we want to do this from 1 to 692. So we've got film ID. Let's also have a random film rating. So film rating equals, do the same thing, randint. This time it's going to be from 1 to 10. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call our function that we had earlier. So we're going to say add, not reviews, add rev. Okay, and then we're going to pass that data in. Given film here, so that's going to have to be our film ID. Then we're going to pass in our user. Okay, so user now is going to be I. And then we're going to add in our film. Did I spell that wrong? Film rating. So we'll add our film rating. Now, here's the thing, yeah? Now we need to decide how many ratings do we want. I mean, if I do this, it's going to add 4 ratings to my table. To the film's rating table. Let's do this. I don't know if I should do this. Let's say for J in range, and let's do 0 to let's do 10,000. Okay, I'm probably going to regret that because I think when we do our queries later, I wonder if that will slow down our table too much. So now for 10,000 times, we're going to add 10,000 reviews, and basically it's going to add 1 review for each user, and then it's going to pick a random film, a random rating, etc., etc. Yeah. So that should work. And what we should probably do here is we should probably return something. Let's return, and let's just redirect to the home page. This is done. So the home page, we're going to refer to films and then home. And let me just explain what this is. So this basically refers to the app. So the app here, if we go to URLs, we've named our app as films, okay? And we want to refer to the home page. So if I go back to views for a second, so we're saying redirect films to the home page, and redirect isn't included yet. So if we go to render, let's just add redirect in there. That's just another function from Django shortcuts. So if I save that, that should be fine, apart from the fact that I haven't added add reviews yet. So let's add a URL pattern for add reviews. Let's put a comma there, and we'll say, oh, come on, right? Let's say path, and then we'll add our add reviews, and we want to load the function add reviews from the views file, and we'll say name equals add reviews. And then the reason why that's white is because we haven't imported the function from the views file yet. So that should be fine. Cool. So now if we run this now, it's going to add 10,000 films. It's going to add 10,000 reviews, I hope, if there's no errors. Let's give it a go. So let's go back to our web page here, and we'll say add reviews. Boom. No errors. And I can see that this is spinning. This is probably going to take a while to run that for loop. And while it does that, I'll have a sip of coffee. While it's doing that, let's do this as well, because I'm a bit of a weirdo. I like to add items and then say that I've finished. So I'd like to feel that I've accomplished something. So let's add an item for add fake reviews. We could say add fake users, but I'm not going to add them. I mean, the fake users are in the repository. If you want to create another script just like the one we've added for adding fake reviews, you can add that. Let's see where we are. That's still adding. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. All right, so after what seems like about half an hour, probably longer than that, it's worked. And I realized while I was doing it that I made a rookie mistake, because I didn't create 100,000 new records for reviews. Well, if we times that by 4, we created 400,000. So yeah, rookie. Anyway, right, having done that, now what we want to do then, since we now have loads and loads of reviews by our random 4 users, one called I for films, blah blah blah, rating of 4, what we want to do now is we want to see if we can get that average per film. So I've looked at aggregation for our films, and there's 2 things here that I pick out. So for example, first of all, it's nice to be able to know how many ratings each film has got. So for example here, that should give us the ability to check how many times a film has been rated. And I think it makes it makes good sense to add this as a method for the class. Right, so what I've done also is I've done a quick little search And I found a very useful example on Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is your friend. Very similar to exactly what I want to do. And it's not even the one that they say works. I believe it's this one that's better for me. So, one of the last things I thought about was adding the function of finding the review as a method in the class. And this is exactly what this is. This literally works exactly the way I want it. So I'm going to make some changes to my class and see if this works. So to begin with then, this is my class for film. And I want to add, for my class, I want to do exactly the same. So I'm going to add property. And then underneath, we're going to write this new function that says average rating. And we want it to check the average rating for self. Okay, actually, there's one other thing we need to do. So when it refers to the average rating, we want it to be able to pull the actual rating itself from the ratings table. So here where it says models and film, it's the way this table here, the way the film table relates to the rating table is through the foreign key here. So what we're going to do is we're going to write related name equals, and let's give it a name such as ratings. We can call it other things as well, but let's just call it ratings. Okay, so now we've done that. What we want to say here is that when this method is run, when this function is run, we want it to return itself dot ratings. So that then refers to that related name, ratings dot all. So refer to all ratings from that film. And then we want to use that aggregate method. So aggregate. And then the models, we imported Django from the Django database. We imported the models library, and that also includes average. So we can say models dot avg, and we want it to return the average of from here, from this table. We want it to return rating. And from that, we want to get rating underscore average. So that should get the average. And if there isn't an average, then what we want is we just want it to display 0, like that. So hopefully that should be, this part of it should be just fine. And there isn't much else to do here, to be fair. The only other thing we've got to do then is we've got to go to our home page and our detail page and just update that. So now what will happen is when we try to access variable names from the film object, we should also be able to call the function average rating, and we should be able to get the average rating like that. So if we go to, for example, film detail, and where are we? Okay, so here we have got IMDb rating and your rating. What we want here is we want to be able to say, let's get rid of that. Say boom, 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 and we're going to refer to film dot average underscore rating. So if we save that, right? So we've saved that. If we go into one of the films, we can see now that we do have an average for the ratings, but that's a lot of decimal places. So we want to round that to one maximum, yeah? And we can do that actually directly from the, template. So we'll go back to a template, and here we're going to add a pipe, and we're going to add float format, and we want to say 1. So we want 1 decimal place. So now if we save that, and if we go back to our web page again, and if we refresh, now we have exactly the way we want it, okay, for every single film. So hopefully if we go back 1, at this point in this page here, they're all still 8.8. That's fine. If we click on Guardians of the Galaxy, we can see here that the average rating is 5.8. Right, so actually now then what's left is to do exactly the same for this home page here. Right, okay, so we've opened up our homepage template and we're going to do exactly the same thing. Nothing new here. So let's get rid of that 8.8. In fact, what we'll do is we'll put the 2 curly brackets down. We'll say film. In fact, you know what? Let's save ourselves all the typing. There we go. Let's take all of that because it's going to work in exactly the same way. Boom. Now, if we save it and if we go back to our home page and we refresh, oh my God, check it out. Everything has got their average ratings. And if we go on every single page, that's so cool. Okay. I mean, everything's got a really bad rating, 5s and 6s. I would never watch a 5 and a 6. Well, maybe I would, but usually wouldn't. Which is cool. It just goes to show that the average ratings from that big Python for loop that we did seems to float around the middle, you know, between 1 and 10 exactly somewhere. So that's that done, right? What's there left for this video? So if we go back to our list of things that we're doing, we can say we've added our fake reviews, which took a year and a half. And we haven't added navigation to the pages. We added voting feature. We haven't done that yet. What we should do is, you know, I did say this earlier, I'm going to add myself some things that I can tick off because I'm that kind of a loser. So I'm going to say that we are got, or let's say get the average for each display on templates, and we can say, ooh, done that. All right, cool. So that leaves us in a very good position because that's a lot of the work done. Okay. So next then we'll probably add the navigation bar or we'll do some of our filtering. I'll see you guys in the next video.